On January 20th, 1996, in the state of Minas Gerais, the coffee capital of Brazil, 3 young women aged 14 through 22 encountered a strange creature wobbling through an empty lot near their home. This Varginha incident, involving 8 captured humanoids, may be Brazil's most important UFO encounter. Let's explore. Hi everyone, and welcome to Project Blue Book, your destination for the exploration of all things unidentified and unexplained. I am Thor, and thanks for tuning in. Let's begin at the beginning, on January 13th, 1996. According to UFO researcher Uri Bajara Rodriguez, who has painstakingly reconstructed these events despite military best efforts to hush them up, to date, there are over 200 credible witnesses who have come forward to offer bits and pieces of this story. It all starts when an ultralight pilot, Carlos Souza, was driving north from Sao Paulo on his way to Belo Horizonte, near Varginha. This is about 330 kilometers or 200 miles northwest of Rio de Janeiro. At 8 in the morning, just outside of Varginha, he heard a strange noise and stopped to see what was going on. About 400 feet above ground, he saw a cigar-shaped object sputtering irregularly, and a jagged crack ran around the middle of the craft, with smoke and vapor emitting from what, to him, looked to be the result of a crash or a collision. It kept moving, however, and he tried to find roads to follow across the farmland and countryside. As he traveled one road, he came upon a group of soldiers and vehicles, and they quickly turned him away. He described seeing metal debris all around where the soldiers were, and he picked up a piece that floated slowly back to the ground when he dropped it, as if just slightly affected by gravity. He was ordered to turn around immediately, and later in the day, at a restaurant where he sought to rest and reflect on what he had seen, 2 men with soldiers' haircuts and business suits sat down on each side of him and told him details of his life and threatened with consequences if he ever told his story. A farming couple in a nearby area described a near identical story of sputtering sounds and watching what looked like a cigar-shaped object with a crack in the middle falling to the ground behind a nearby hillside. Multiple witnesses have further described the very busy military activity that ensued in the area, beginning on January 13th and lasting through early February. The next report comes from 8 a.m. on January 20th, when the Varginha Fire Department received a call that a strange wild animal was spotted near Sargent Andery, exactly where the 3 girls mentioned at the top of this program later saw their alien. The firemen responded to this call, as they are responsible for capturing wild animals in the urban areas of the city. They came to an embankment where a man and a woman and 3 boys, aged 12 to 14, were observing a movement down the slope. The firemen dove in and started chasing the movement hidden by the shrub. A full 2 hours later, they captured something unexpected, a humanoid. They had to drag against his will to their fire truck up on the road. According to eyewitnesses, they had already called the military, and they arrived swiftly out of nowhere, where the firemen handed the creature over. A foul odor of ammonia emitted from the humanoid, a smell similarly described by the 3 girls in an adjacent area later in the day. This foul ammonia smell matches countless alien encounters experiences worldwide, offered up firsthand by the Varginha witnesses who had no prior exposure to UFO research. It's an authentic, collaborative account. At 2 o'clock the same afternoon, a jogger described seeing an army truck parked on the side of the road. He saw armed soldiers run and disappear into a ravine where he heard 3 gunshots, and later some of the soldiers returned to their truck carrying body bags, and noted he found it odd that at least one of the bags had what to him looked like a small person, a kid perhaps, fighting for their life, moving around and protesting the entrapment inside the body bag. He never saw what they looked like. It was at 6 p.m. that night, following a hailstorm that dumped tremendous rain on the area, that the three girls came across yet another living humanoid in the empty lot. They ran away in fright and returned with their mother, who described a strong odor of ammonia coming from the humanoid creature. She described looking like no animal she'd ever seen, and it wasn't human either. When the military scooped in to capture this creature, a young officer in his 20s was seen wrestling the humanoid into the vehicle, wet from the rain and the wet grass in the area. He later stopped at his parents' house in Varginha to change out his wet clothes, sneezing as if he had caught cold. In the days and weeks that followed, he developed an unknown bacterial infection, 3 distinct bacterial infections in fact, according to doctors. He was hospitalized and died on February 15th in 1996, just over 3 weeks later. A young, healthy man in the prime of his time. Cause of death: unidentified bacterial infection. The most disturbing aspect of these events are the purported leaked videos shot by military personnel and shared with UFO researchers, members of the media, and the public, against strict orders not to do so. The live footage accompanying the story are said to be the real thing, the real footage of the captured humanoids in question. However, according to one eyewitness responding to this video, "I know there was a real video because I watched it when it was released 100 times, and I remember exactly what he looked like and how he moved. I still get goosebumps when I think of what I saw. This is a different video." End quote. Many of the eyewitnesses who came forward received visits from strangers at night, instructing them not to talk, offering them money for staying silent, and not to follow them to see the cars they drove. Strange thing, they insisted on this odd detail, not to follow them outside. Later in the spring, in April 1996, which is a fall in Brazil, a middle-aged woman sitting on a porch saw a strange creature staring at her over a fence only a few yards away. And in May, a university student spotted a similar-looking creature crossing the highway. It appeared to be startled by his headlights and hurried off the road. It turned out to be adjacent to where the UFO had crashed on January 13th. The civil evidence surrounding this event suggests that 8 creatures were captured, dead or alive, but more continued to roam the area for months, never caught, until they disappeared among a flurry of UFO sightings in the area that lasted for months. Most of the reports by eyewitnesses describe a strange humanoid being, perhaps 4 to 4.5 feet tall, with large eyes, a very thin body, V-shaped feet, brown skin, and large dark red eyes. Additionally, there's a NORAD report, the North American Air Defense Command. It was leaked to the media by a Brazilian military officer and a member of the SINDACTA, Center for Air Defense Command in Brazil. The report warns of a UFO coming down over the state of Minas Gerais on the evening of the 13th of January. It is a perfect independent piece of data corroborating the story. In the following year, more eyewitnesses approached the media and researchers with reports of seeing cigar-shaped spacecraft and creatures roaming the countryside, including at the local zoo. Many of those turned out to be false, copycats, and the creatures turned out to be actual zoo animals seen in transit, escaped, or peacefully minded their business in their cages at the zoo. The proliferation of eyewitness accounts prompted the Wall Street Journal to feature an article on the phenomena, and in 2001, a water tower in the shape of the alleged UFO was built in the city to commemorate the events, and a small cottage industry of UFO merchandise has risen in Varginha as a result. It's a classic tale of a serious event, chaotic and strange during the course of its occurrence, when the civilian eyewitnesses were making their discoveries alongside the military and police, rushing to attempt to control the story, capturing the evidence, and covering up its every detail. The story therefore unfolded with all its believable imperfections through the countryside surrounding the city that ultimately became whitewashed of actual evidence, leaving real eyewitness accounts muddled within a flurry of wannabe tall tales and accounts that inevitably cheapened the importance of the actual, real, and historic events themselves, serving to discount the credibility of real eyewitnesses. What remains, however, are the true stories from eyewitness accounts and the knowledge of the evidence because they saw them, the humanoids, alive, in the hands of the Brazilian military. You can watch and listen to this and other podcasts on Project Blue Book, your safe and reliable source for exploring the unidentified and unexplained. Please subscribe, and each day, let's show compassion and kindness. I am Thor, and thanks for listening. See you next time.